Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror thriller TV series named Tales of the Bizarre, Season 1, Part 1. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The first story begins with Hana, who possesses a special ability. Whenever she touches someone's belongings, she can see into their past. This power has turned her into an older, unmarried woman, forcing her onto the matchmaking scene. But one day, after accidentally spilling water on her clothes, she accepts a handkerchief from her date. When she touches it, her ability activates, and she discovers the man before her is a complete scumbag. She sees a vision of him abandoning a woman who truly loved him. Furious, Hana leaves immediately and calls her best friend to arrange another meeting. However, her car breaks down on the way, leaving her stranded. Just then, a kind man in sunglasses pulls over. He gets out, takes off his jacket, and prepares to check on her car. While waiting, Hana hears a news report on his car radio. The police have found the bodies of 3 young women in a local town. They believe it's the work of a single killer and are about to issue a warrant for his arrest. The report warns women driving alone on the town road to be cautious, especially if their car breaks down, and to call the police rather than accepting help from strangers. It almost felt like the warning was broadcast specifically for Hana. Just then, the man walks over. He tells her the car isn't broken, just out of gas. He suggests taking her to a nearby town to find someone to tow the car to a gas station. Confused and flustered, Hana gets into his car. Because of the news report, she is extremely wary of him. Her mind racing, she finds a woman's necklace in the car. She instinctively clutches it, and a vision flashes before her eyes, the murder of a young woman. Terrified, Hana wants to get out of the car, but the man tells her they are very close to the town and mentions the news report he just heard. He says he couldn't possibly leave her there alone to wait for help, and with that, he drives off with her. Hana is gripped by fear, which only intensifies when she realizes he is indeed driving towards the town. Seeing a convenience store ahead, she asks him to drop her off there. When they arrive, they find the store is closed. Still shaken by the thought of the killer, Hana gets out on the pretext of needing to stretch. The man goes to a vending machine for cigarettes. As he reaches into his pocket, he panics, realizing the necklace is gone. He rushes back to the car to search for it, and by a strange coincidence, finds it at Hana's feet. Seeing how desperately he was looking for the necklace, Hana's imagination runs wild again. She becomes convinced he is the killer, murdering for money. The thought takes root and grows stronger by the second. Finally, Hana musters the courage to confront him, causing a struggle that leads the man to pull the car over by a cliff. Confused and angry by her behavior, he gets out to inspect the car. Hana, wanting to confirm the killer's appearance one last time, looks into her vision. She sees only a gloved hand holding a wrench. In that instant, she glances at the rearview mirror and is horrified to see the man is wearing the same kind of gloves and holding an identical wrench. Without a second thought, she starts the car, throws it into reverse, and rams him off the cliff. Miraculously, he climbs back up, seemingly unharmed. In a panic, Hana runs into the middle of the road and flags down another car for help. Seeing her get into someone else's vehicle, the man becomes frantic. He tries to follow, but Hana has damaged his car and it won't start. Just as Hana thinks she has escaped, she takes out the necklace to get a final clear look at the killer. She sees that the murderer has a beard. She then glances at the driver beside her. Hana's blood runs cold. The real killer was him all along, and that's where the story ends, leaving little doubt about Hana's fate. The second story begins with Yuko, a high school student whose school is filled with urban legends, like the tale of a girl in the third stall of the girls' bathroom, or the warning not to stare at TV static for 30 minutes. The most popular rumor recently, however, is about the human-faced dog, a dog with a human face that turns anyone it barks at into a dog. Terrified, students now go out of their way to avoid stray dogs after school. Yuko has a younger brother in elementary school. One afternoon, her mother asks her to take some of his clothes to his room. When Yuko enters, she finds the room in a complete mess. Annoyed, she starts cleaning up and finds a computer disk labeled Legends. Curious, she puts it in her computer and discovers it contains records of numerous urban legends, including the recent one about the human-faced dog. Yuko doesn't think much of it, finding her brother's hobby amusing. Feeling that the existing legends are old and cliché, she decides on a whim to create a new, scary story to frighten him. She sits at the computer and starts typing. Her story is about a little boy named Machio who plays alone in the park at night. He asks passers-by to play with him, but anyone who does is never able to go home again. It's a short and creepy tale. Satisfied, Yuko finishes up, and the night passes peacefully. The next day, a classmate stops Yuko and asks if she's heard the new urban legend about a boy in the park named Machio who makes anyone who plays with him disappear. Yuko is both amused and surprised. Amused because she made it up, and surprised that her classmate already knows it. She assumes her talkative little brother spread the story. However, when she confronts him at home, he tells her he heard it from someone else. Things were getting interesting. Even more curiously, in the following days, the story of Machio spreads to more and more people. Some even claim that people have actually played with Machio and have since mysteriously vanished. Yuko grows increasingly frightened, unable to understand how this is happening. She tries to tell her classmates she invented the story and that it's fake, but no one believes her. Soon, things spiral out of control. Several elementary school students who attend night classes go missing, and Yuko's brother is one of them. When her mother tells her that her brother hasn't come home, a sense of dread washes over Yuko. She rushes to the computer and finds that beneath the story she wrote, many more entries about Machio have mysteriously appeared, all telling of people who played with him and never returned. Terrified, she runs to the park to look for her brother. She doesn't find him, but she does find his backpack. And then she meets Machio. As he invites her to play, Yuko feels an irresistible compulsion, as if she's being controlled. As the swing in the park sways back and forth, Yuko, too, mysteriously disappears. And that's where the story ends. The third story begins in a cafe where a woman apologetically breaks up with a young man. She tells him that while she enjoyed dating someone so handsome, she can't stand the fact they have to split the bill for a cup of coffee. She has decided not to give up on her dream, marrying a rich man. As she leaves in a sports car, the young man, Takashi, is left heartbroken. After the breakup, he becomes despondent and neglects his work, spending his days with friends trying to figure out how to get rich quick. One day, they encounter a strange old man who shows them an ancient game board. He explains it's a type of game called Suguroku, once played by the legendary consort. He says the game is extraordinary. Whoever reaches the final space will win immense wealth. However, it comes with great risks. The board has many spaces with words written on them. If a player's piece lands on one, the event described on the space will happen to them in real life. Takashi is skeptical. He places his hand on the board and feels a powerful, unexplainable force pulling it down, making it impossible to lift. Looking up, he sees the old man smiling slyly, asking if they dare to play. Takashi looks down at the board and decides to take the chance. But when he looks up again, the old man has vanished. Later, Takashi buys a dictionary, gathers a few friends, and with some drinks and snacks, they begin to play. His friends don't believe in the game's power, but they place some money in the center space as a prize. Soon, the first friend's piece lands on a space with 4 characters. Treasure from the abdomen. Not understanding its meaning, but seeing the word treasure, the friend is overjoyed. But when they look it up in the dictionary, it translates to a treasure coming from the belly. As they ponder its meaning, the doorbell rings. It's the friend's girlfriend's father. The friend had gotten his girlfriend pregnant, and her father has come to confront him. As they are led away, Takashi is stunned, realizing the Suguroku game is real. What follows is even stranger. A friend in a red shirt lands on a space that says, "Internal organs will cramp." He is carried away in an ambulance. Another friend in a brown shirt lands on a space that reads, "Go to the police station." He is taken away by the police. Soon, only Takashi and one other friend are left. By now, Takashi is terrified. To reach the immense wealth space, they first have to pass a space that means death. If one of them lands there, it's game over. Takashi wants to quit, but his friend is furious. He argues that they've come this far, and quitting now is why his ex-girlfriend looked down on him. Besides, the chance of landing on the death space is only 1 in 6. For the sake of wealth, he is willing to risk it, as he's tired of being poor. With his friend so determined, Takashi has no choice but to continue. They play from night until dawn, and finally, they are just 1 step away from the end. His friend, however, is 1 space short. He rolls a 1 and is about to land on the death space. In a moment of desperation, thinking it's better him than me, the friend swaps his piece with Takashi's. Furious, Takashi fights back. Being stronger, Takashi overpowers his friend and switches the pieces back. The friend meets his end. Seeing this, Takashi immediately picks up the dice and rolls a 2. He has won. He is ecstatic. He is about to receive immense wealth, marry a beautiful woman, and reach the pinnacle of his life. But he never imagined that the next morning he would be arrested by the police. They ask him why he killed his friend. Takashi insists it wasn't him, but the Suguroku game. He isn't lying, but of course, the police don't believe his smelly bullshit. Later, the police discover a large box full of money on his roof. It's the first time Takashi has seen the money himself. He immediately understands it's the prize from the game, a prize he will never get to enjoy. Instead, the money has become the evidence of his crime, and that's where the story ends. The fourth story begins with a thief breaking into a research institute late at night. He is about to steal a lab's research results when he is discovered. A researcher confronts him to get the report back, but a struggle ensues, and the thief kills him. Just as the thief is about to escape, he hears a security guard approaching. To hide, he quickly ducks into a locker in the room. He plans to sneak out after the guard leaves, but he discovers the locker is locked from the outside. No matter how hard he pushes, it won't open. After a brief struggle, he gives up. The guard has called the police. From inside the small locker, the thief watches as the police and forensic team work from night until morning. When daylight breaks, he uses the light to get a better look and realizes with a shock that the locker he is trapped in belonged to the very researcher he just killed. A chill runs down his spine all the way to his smelly butt as he recalls the man's eerie smile before he died. Later, two people stand outside the locker smoking, and the smoke almost makes the thief cough and reveal his position. But just in time, two junk collectors arrive. They say that the researcher had sold the locker to them yesterday, and they've come to take it away. The police officer on duty doesn't question it and allows them to proceed. When the thief feels himself being carried out of the institute, he is overjoyed, thinking he is finally free. Along the way, he keeps trying to open the door, but the space is too small to get any leverage, so he gives up, deciding to wait for a better opportunity to escape. However, when the truck arrives at a junkyard and the thief sees the giant electromagnets, he begins to panic. He starts screaming for help, but one of the workers is deaf and the other is listening to music on his headphones. They can't hear his cries at all. The locker is lifted by the magnet and dropped into a massive compactor. With a push and a squeeze, amidst the thief's desperate screams, he wakes up. Crying with relief, he thinks it was just a dream and it's so good to be alive. But in the next moment, he hears the loud noises from outside and realizes he is still at the junkyard. He had only dozed off for a short while, but the workers have continued their job. He is genuinely being lifted into the air. The thief screams at his full chicken lungs for help again, his voice drowned out by the roar of the machinery around him. This time, for real, he is crushed. The fifth story begins with an old woman running a candy shop, attracting children by telling them all sorts of stories. One day, as she is about to begin a story, three unwelcome visitors arrive at her shop. The old woman changes her plan and decides to tell a tale about goblins. She explains that long ago, goblins and humans lived in harmony. But one day, greedy humans invaded the goblins' world. They trampled the land the goblins depended on and destroyed their homes, forcing the goblins to flee into a world of darkness. Resentment transformed them from sprites into vengeful demons. Many years later, a wise and respected monk appeared. He sacrificed his life to create a wall between the human and goblin worlds, ensuring the two races would never interfere with each other again. But by pulling the goblins from the world of darkness, this act only fueled their rage. They now wait for the day the wall crumbles, so they can unleash their revenge. And with that, the story is finished. The old woman tells the children that the wall is right here in her shop, but buying one of her marbles for 50 will protect them from the demons. The children eagerly crowd around to buy them. The three young men, however, don't believe her smelly bullshit. They not only shoo the children away, but also drag the old woman out of her shop, telling her the area is scheduled for demolition, and she has to leave whether she likes it or not. Just as the old woman is about to argue with them, the police arrive. The children who bought the marbles had used them to break a nearby shop's window, and now the old woman is being held responsible. It's utterly absurd. While she's gone, the three men ransack her shop. They find her life savings and a valuable painting. The moment they tear the painting off the wall, the sky outside darkens with storm clouds and lightning flashes. Inside the shop, a large black vortex appears on the wall. When the old woman finally returns from the police station, she hears horrifying screams coming from her shop. They last for a moment, then stop. As the shop door swings open, a foul gust of air rushes out. The old woman knows it's the demons, once goblins, now unleashed to settle their score with humanity. Only those holding a crystal marble will be spared, and that's where the story ends. The sixth story begins with a young woman who is pregnant, so she and her husband decide to buy a house. They are drawn to a 160 square meter house, only 7 years old, for just $35 million. After some quick calculations, they buy it. On their first day, they meet their new neighbors who seem very friendly and welcoming. The couple is delighted, as anyone would be to have such kind and reasonable neighbors. But just then, a large rock smashes through their window. It's then that they learn from the neighbors that there is something strange about this house. The neighbors only tell them half the story, and the couple doesn't think much of it at the time. The next day, the husband leaves on a business trip to earn money for the mortgage. Left alone, the wife begins to experience a series of strange events. At first, it's just harassing phone calls. Then her clothes drying rack is intentionally knocked over, leaving a large footprint on her bedding. Her bathroom is filled with cockroaches and the living room is trashed. The frightened woman wants to call the police, but someone throws paint all over their window. When the police do arrive, they are baffled and have no leads. It is then that the woman remembers what the neighbors said on the day they moved in. She asks the police officer if something had happened in this house before. At this point, the officer decides not to hide the truth. He tells her that a 58-year-old woman used to live here and died suddenly. She was a notorious local moneylender who had made many enemies. Many people suspected she was murdered, but due to a lack of evidence, her death was ruled a suicide. The officer adds that they found her hanging right by that window, a truly gruesome sight. The woman is terrified and spends the rest of the day in a daze. That night, the harassment continues. Even her pet fish are poisoned. Just then, her husband calls. She tells him everything that has happened. He comforts her using his juicy tongue, telling her not to be afraid, and immediately prepares to come home. While trying to bury her fish, the woman happens to dig up a strange notebook under a tree in the backyard. She immediately calls the police chief. The chief arrives shortly after, but his actions are strange. He takes the notebook, reads a page by moonlight, tears it out, holds it in front of the woman and lights it on fire, forcing her to see what's written on it. As she watches in horror, he tells her that the greedy, vicious old woman was going to take his hard-earned new house as payment for a debt. He says the house was his everything and he couldn't let it happen. At that moment, even a fool would understand. The police chief was the one who killed the previous owner. But she has no grudge against him, so she is confused. She tries to run. As she leaves the house, she sees many of her neighbors standing outside. She cries out to them for help, but their friendly expressions are gone, replaced by something sinister. She realizes they are all in it together with the chief. They all owed money to the previous owner. They were the ones who had been terrorizing her. But by the time she understands, it's too late. There is no escape. Later, when the husband returns, he finds a crowd gathered in front of his house. His wife has been dead for some time. The chief claims it was a suicide, but the husband knows she would never do such a thing. He knows there is more to the story, but he will never find out the truth, and it's highly likely he will soon follow in his wife's footsteps. The seventh story begins with a man staring intently from his house at the one across the street every night. That house used to be his. Now another man lives there, the protagonist of our story, a doctor. On his first night in the house, he has a strange nightmare. In the dream, he is desperately trying to save a woman, but she dies despite his efforts. But just as he removes her oxygen mask, the dead woman's eyes snap open. She sits up and screams for help. The doctor wakes up with a start. He smells a foul odor like the stench of a corpse. He gets up and searches everywhere but can't find the source. The doctor has a fiancée and this house is meant to be their marital home. However, her family is traditional and forbids them from living together before marriage. One day, when his fiancée comes to visit, she finds him acting strangely, sniffing around like a dog. He explains that there's a bad smell, but she can't smell anything. While helping him unpack, she finds a diamond ring. Confused, she thinks it might be for another woman, but the doctor suggests it was likely left by the previous owner. This reminds him of his nightmare. The terrifying woman in his dream seemed to be wearing a similar ring. He wonders if it could be hers. That evening, his fiancée cooks him a lavish dinner. All the while, the man across the street is watching them. The next morning, the smell is still there, and a dog has appeared in the yard. The doctor, not knowing whose dog it is, carries it out of the yard. He runs into a neighbor who strikes up a conversation. The neighbor tells him the dog belonged to the previous owner of his house. He says the man had a bad temper and often fought with his wife. One day, his wife supposedly couldn't take it anymore and left, never to return. The man then moved into the house across the street. The neighbor's words stick with the doctor. He is eager to know why the man moved so close if he was moving out. To test his theory, the doctor takes the ring and goes to the man's house that night. He watches as the man nervously takes the ring back. Seeing his strange reaction and remembering some scratch marks he found in the house, a terrifying thought forms in the doctor's mind. What if the man hid his wife's body in the walls? It would explain the persistent stench and why the neighbors said his wife was never seen again. The more he thinks about it, the more plausible it seems. He starts tearing his house apart, digging up the floorboards in a desperate search. His behavior deeply troubles his fiancée. She can't smell anything and begins to think he doesn't like her anymore, that he doesn't want to get married and is just making excuses. To convince her, the doctor points out the indelible stain on the carpet, which he claims is a blood stain, and the clear scratch marks on a door, evidence of a desperate struggle. Combined with the foul smell, he is certain the previous owner's wife is hidden somewhere in the house, but his search yields nothing. Just then, 2 workers arrive at the door. They apologize, saying they should have come before he moved in. They explain that a pipe in the house seems to be leaking, which is causing the smell from the sewer to seep in. Hearing this, the doctor and his fiancée both laugh in relief. That night, they are finally at ease, happily planning their honeymoon. At the same time, beneath the house, in a place they cannot see, the dog returns. It is digging at something, eating something, and from the freshly dug pit, a hand seems to be sticking out. And that's where the story ends. The 8th story begins with a famous designer, a successful woman featured in newspapers. Recently promoted to a director position, she has moved to a new address and a new apartment. Besides work, her greatest passion is shopping. But in modern society, everything comes with packaging and bags, so every purchase brings home a mountain of trash. The woman has a husband and child, but she sent them back to her hometown, telling everyone her husband took a job in another city. She lives by a strict schedule, up at 9 a.m. every morning, followed by a routine of washing up, breakfast, and reading the paper, all within 30 minutes. Then, right on time, she takes out 2 bags of trash and heads to work to start her day. But one evening, when she returns home exhausted, her good mood vanishes in an instant. The 2 bags of trash she threw out that morning are back. As she wonders what's going on, the building manager suddenly appears. She scolds her for not following the rules, explaining that regardless of her habits in the countryside, city life has its own regulations. This includes throwing out trash, which has strict rules about sorting and designated times. The woman is puzzled, but can tell the old manager is not someone to be trifled with. So, from the next day on, her schedule changes. She now has to wake up 15 minutes earlier just to take out the trash. When she gets downstairs, she finds all the other residents of the apartment building waiting with their garbage for the manager's inspection. It seems everyone but her is following the rules. As a result, she fails to throw out her trash on the first day. Since she couldn't do it in the morning, she gets a mischievous idea, to sneak it out at night. Cautiously, she tiptoes downstairs with her 2 bags of trash, trying not to make a sound. But to her surprise, the old manager is hiding by the trash heap, guarding it. Her second attempt fails. The woman is furious. She can't understand why throwing out garbage has to be so complicated. But despite her anger, she is helpless. That evening, her mother calls. They talk about her good-for-nothing husband. Her mother tries to persuade her to reconcile for the sake of their child, but in her eyes, her husband is like the trash in her room, something she desperately wants to get rid of, but that no one else wants. Eventually, her mother gives up. The woman then tells her mother to stop sending her things, especially apples and potatoes, as she can't eat them all, and they just create more trash. On the 3rd day, she tries to dispose of her trash elsewhere, but someone stops her again. For some reason, every garbage collection point seems to be guarded. Defeated, she has to carry her trash to work under the strange gazes of others, and then bring it back home in the evening. As time goes on, the undisposable garbage piles up, filling her apartment to the brim. Now, when she orders takeout, she is filled with dread, even asking the delivery person if they could take the container back with them. Unsurprisingly, they refuse. With her home overflowing with trash, the once avid shopper gives up her hobby. The sight of clerks wrapping items in layer after layer of packaging now fills her with a sense of despair. But even if she stops shopping and ordering takeout, her mailbox continues to be stuffed with mail and newspapers. In desperation, she puts up a no junk mail sign on her door. Feeling a little better, she decides to have a beer, but the sight of the pile of empty cans makes her mood plummet again. Just then, the doorbell rings. She peeks through the peephole and sees a colleague, the building manager, and a delivery person. She tries to pretend she's not home, but the incessant ringing of the doorbell makes her look around her apartment in despair. It's in no state to receive guests or packages. Finally, she gives in and opens the door. She accepts the package from her mother, the documents her colleague brought over, and large bananas from the manager, who says she can't eat them but can't bear to throw them away, advising her to wrap them in several layers of plastic to contain the smell. At this point, the woman feels like she's going to die. She is surrounded, almost buried by garbage. And just then, her garbage husband shows up unannounced with their son. Her first reaction is terror and annoyance. The apartment can't even hold any more trash, and now there are 2 more people in their luggage. The thought of getting rid of the excess trash crosses her mind. And so, she throws out her precious son and her garbage husband. She covers her ears to block out their noise and gets a good night's sleep. But the next morning, she is awakened by the manager's frantic knocking. The old woman scolds her, saying today isn't the day for organic waste. Realizing what has happened, the woman rushes to the balcony and looks down at the street. She sees her husband and son sitting by the trash heap, having been thrown out as fresh garbage. The 9th story begins with a chance accident that brings a young man and a young woman, Hana, together. While picking up broken glass, he cuts his hand, and Hana immediately wraps it with a tissue. This is their first meeting, their first touch. From that moment, the young man feels his life has truly begun. Hana is breathtakingly beautiful. Her stunning face and melancholic expression capture his heart and refuse to let go. He begins to watch her secretly, observing her lively and cheerful nature, which he finds radiates a vibrant, wholesome beauty. She stands out from the crowd, and he can spot her anywhere. Her smile melts his heart. He believes such a beautiful woman must have come from the heavens to be admired from afar but never touched. But then he discovers she has a boyfriend, a rich one at that. He feels a pang of bitterness, wondering why the rich guys always get so lucky. His constant staring at Hana is noticed by her wealthy boyfriend, who not only verbally humiliates him but also beats him up. In front of the woman he adores, the young man's pride is utterly crushed. Later, he walks home dejected, but to his surprise, he finds Hana waiting for him at his doorstep. He doesn't question how she knew where he lived. She tells him she has a favor to ask, for him to take her to the seaside. Puzzled, he agrees. At the coast, she asks him in a sad, pitiful tone if he has ever thought about dying, mentioning that bodies that fall in here never float back up. Then she rests her head on his shoulder. Though his heart is racing, he resists and gently pushes her sexy body away. But when she closes her beautiful eyes and tilts her chin up, he can't hold back anymore. He kisses her passionately. He doesn't understand why she invited him here, why she cried in front of him, or why she hugged and kissed him. But after that day, he finds himself deeply, hopelessly in love with her. Her birthday is approaching. He remembers Hana once said that to truly win her heart, a gift must show sincerity and be something no one else could ever imagine. For this gift, the young man drops out of school and decides to sell everything he owns to give her a surprise. He works tirelessly, day and night, all to give her what he believes is the best gift in the world. The day of her birthday arrives. A crowd of people present their gifts, but all are outshone by her rich boyfriend's diamond ring. Just then, the young man appears. He pulls Hana outside and places a key in her hand, telling her this is the sincere and carefully prepared gift that no one else could imagine. But Hana tells him she can't accept it. He is furious. Why can she accept gifts from others, from her boyfriend, but not from him? He accuses her of inviting him out that day on a whim, of kissing and hugging him on a whim. He says he never dreamed she was that kind of person. Seeing his anger, Hana explains that it wasn't a whim. She has a secret she can't reveal. She then tells him everything. She has to marry the rich man because her father's business failed, leaving him with massive debts. Only by marrying him will he agree to pay off her father's debts and save him from his creditors. So it's not that she doesn't want his gift, but that she can't accept it. She confesses that the gift she truly wants isn't a car or a house, but absolute freedom. She asks if he understands. She then tells him she actually likes him, and whether he believes it or not, it's the truth. While she has no choice in who she marries, she did have the choice to give her first kiss and first hug to him. Her words leave the young man in tears. He had completely misunderstood her. He feels terrible. Watching her walk away, he makes a decision. That night, using Hana's name, he lures the rich man to an abandoned factory and kills him. He then takes the body to the same cliff where Hana had taken him, remembering her words that anything lost there never resurfaces. He intends to give her freedom as his ultimate gift. However, as soon as he arrives at the cliffside, before he's even ready, the bright lights of police cars waiting in ambush flash on. He doesn't wonder how they got there so fast. He just feels his mission is complete. He has no regrets about giving this once-in-a-lifetime gift, a gift no one else could imagine, Hana's freedom. But then comes the twist. Later, the police officer in charge of the case asks the woman how she knew the young man would come here to dispose of the body. She tells him it's a secret, then asks if he'll get a big promotion for solving this murder case. The officer says he probably will. She asks if he's happy, and says that now he should understand her feelings. She tells him she did all of this for him. She loves him, and his promotion is her gift to him. And now he can never leave her. And that's where the story ends. The 10th story begins with a storm raging with thunder and lightning outside. Inside, a man and his wife have just finished being intimate. It's their 3rd wedding anniversary. As he sits down at the table, the lights flicker and go out for a moment due to the storm. The time is 9 p.m. He prepares to open a bottle of champagne, but in his carelessness, the cork flies off and hits the wife in the face. She is annoyed and wants him to apologize, but his male pride won't let him. He insists it was an accident, not intentional. After 3 years of marriage, the wife has learned to let things go. They pour the champagne, ready to toast to their anniversary. But just as their glasses are about to clink, the doorbell rings. The wife answers it to find a strange old woman who asks if they use contraception. The old woman says she's selling Bibles and offering a free CD with every purchase. The man immediately refuses. He returns to his seat to celebrate with his wife, but the doorbell rings again. It's a flower delivery man. It's a surprise from the husband, 36 roses for their 36 months of marriage. However, when his wife takes the flowers, she sees they are white chrysanthemums, which are funereal. This infuriates not only her, but also the husband. But it's their anniversary, so she suppresses her anger and prepares to toast. Just then, the phone rings. It's a man named Playboy, who says he's coming over. The husband is displeased. The conversation leads to a full-blown argument with his wife. As they shout, the wife unleashes her frustrations, calling him a mama's boy. She complains that even though his mother is dead, he keeps a huge, creepy portrait of her in the living room. In a fit of anger, she throws the portrait to the ground. This pushes the husband over the edge. In a blind rage, he strikes his wife down. He sees she isn't breathing and is instantly filled with regret. He notices a gift that fell from her, addressed to my dearest. He breaks down completely. Just then, the doorbell rings again. It's Playboy. Terrified, the husband collapses to the floor, crying out for his mother to save him. After a flash of lightning, time seems to rewind to 9 p.m. The wife is alive again. Confused but grateful for a second chance, the husband's attitude changes completely. He opens the champagne facing away from his wife. He answers the door himself, buying the Bible with the free CD and accepting the flowers. Of course, they are still white chrysanthemums. But after he answers Playboy's call and drinks the champagne with his wife, everything changes. The champagne is poisoned. This time, his mother won't be there to save him. As he dies, he sees Playboy walk in. The wife hands Playboy the white chrysanthemums and sits in his lap. She then takes out the gift. The note, "To my dearest," was for Playboy all along, and that's where the story ends. The 11th story begins with a man who works as a salesman, a job that requires him to be on the road constantly. It's a hot day, and after visiting just a few clients, he is already drenched in sweat. He finally reaches his next client's house and pulls over to rest for a moment. As he rests, his vision begins to blur. In a daze, he sees an old woman. He wants to ask her for some water to quench his thirst, but she seems to know him, insisting that he come home with her. Parched, he doesn't think twice and follows her. At her house, he eagerly drinks water from a well. Once he has had his fill, the old woman calls out a name, saying that Akiyoshi is back. The man then sees a beautiful young woman running towards him. She greets him like a loving wife, taking his bag. But that's not all. A child runs out, calling him Daddy. The man panics since he's not anyone's father, but seeing their sincere smiles, he realizes they aren't pretending. He can't figure out what's going on. After the old woman leaves, he learns the truth. The family is acting out a part for the old woman. Her son Akiyoshi, who was the young woman's husband, left home years ago and was never heard from again. Since then, the old woman has been ill. Whenever she sees a man who resembles her son, she brings him home and treats him as Akiyoshi. The salesman isn't the first, and it's unclear if he'll be the last. Moved by their story and feeling a kind of compassion, and admittedly attracted to the beautiful, sexy woman, he agrees to play the part of her husband and the old woman's son for a day. The rest of the day is straightforward. He enjoys a bath prepared by his mother, puts on the pajamas his wife has laid out, and sips on an afternoon beer she serves him. In his free time, he plays with the child by the river. All of this reminds him of his own wife and child. The salesman is married, but his busy work schedule caused him to neglect his family. One day, his wife couldn't take it anymore and left with their child. This temporary experience makes him realize how good his wife actually was, and that his own stubbornness had ruined things. He reflects on why he works so hard. It's for a warm home with his wife and child. He resolves to win his wife back when he returns. That evening, everyone is in high spirits. During dinner, the man dutifully shares a drink with the young woman. The sight warms the old woman's heart. To her, with her son home, the family is finally complete. Later that night, he tells the little girl a bedtime story and then goes to the old woman's room, chatting with her and giving her a massage like a real son until she falls asleep like a pig. Afterward, he finds the young woman and tells her he has to leave, but she asks him to stay, saying the last bus has already left. She has already prepared a bed for him. He goes to the room and, smelling the sun-dried sheets, falls into a peaceful sleep. He dreams that his wife has forgiven him and their family is happily together again. On a cabinet in the room where he sleeps, there is a photograph. The man in the picture looks just like him. In fact, it is him. The scene shifts. The man is still sitting in his car. A police officer tries to wake him but can't. Upon checking, the officer finds he is dead, and that's where the story ends. There was no happy family. It was all just a dream in the moments before his death. The story serves as a poignant reminder that family is the most comforting place of all. But by the time the man realized this, it was too late. It's a sad irony, urging us to cherish and love our families while we still can before it's too late. The 12th story begins with a man's father who passed away when he was young, but he left him something that would change his life, an object called the monkey's paw. It can grant 3 wishes. If used wisely, it could at least provide a life free of worries, if not immense wealth. The man understands this well, so he has only used it twice, once to get into college, and once when he was fired from a job. As a result, he attended a modest university and is now the president of a small company. He is content with his life because he knows a fundamental truth. A person's luck is more or less fixed from birth. Whenever something fortunate happens, something unfortunate is sure to follow to balance things out. For example, after getting into college, he broke his leg skiing. After becoming a company president, he was rear-ended by a truck and hospitalized for 3 months. Essentially, for every wish granted, an equivalent price must be paid, depending on the size of the wish. That's why he has only ever aimed for small blessings, fearing that a big wish would cost him his life. Recently, however, his company has been struggling and is on the brink of bankruptcy. He finally considers using his last wish on the monkey's paw. But as he is about to make the wish, he hesitates, not sure whether he can handle the price if this wish comes true. Then he thinks about the alternative. If the company fails and he loses his job, his family will suffer immensely. He decides it's better to take the risk. To protect his family, he sends his wife and children to their hometown. With no one else to worry about, he makes his wish for the company to prosper. The very next day, a self-help back scratcher he invented wins a major innovation award. Orders pour in, and the company is saved. But the better the business gets, the more terrified he becomes, constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. When nothing happens to him, he calls his family to check on them. Hearing they are all safe, he feels a brief sense of relief. But then, a foreign buyer approaches him with an order for 30,000 units, stunning him. This isn't just making money, this feels like a death sentence. He immediately refuses and runs out of the office in a panic. But he can't escape his fate. Even with him doing nothing, his employees are busy taking orders. At this point, he wishes a car would just hit him and end his anxiety. But his frantic behavior only scares off drivers. As time goes on, the company becomes wildly successful, moving into a large new building. Good things keep happening, but the price never seems to come. The constant anxiety tortures him, leaving him exhausted and feeling like he's aged years. He is convinced he is destined for a terrible death. But then, he has a realization. Every time something good happens, he suffers immense mental anguish. He wonders if this could be the price, the constant torment. The idea brings him a sense of clarity. It must be. After a month of this agony, he feels ready to bring his wife and children home. He misses them terribly. At the same time, a car is speeding towards him. As he stands up, it swerves and passes him, just missing him. This confirms his theory. His suffering is the price. But as he turns, a child's toy car slowly rolls towards him. In trying to avoid it, he tumbles down a small slope, breaks a bone, and ends up in the hospital. Finally, in the place he had been longing for, he is overjoyed. He believes the price has finally been paid in full. He is in high spirits, but the doctor pulls his wife aside for a private conversation. During the examination, they found something. The man may only have 3 months to live. Unaware, the man lies in his hospital bed, happily planning his future. And that's where the story ends. The 13th story begins with Hana staring at a watermelon for half an hour, but ultimately decides not to buy it. It's not because she can't afford it, but because her husband is away on a business trip, and she can't finish a whole one by herself. As she turns to leave, another woman stops her. She says she also wants a watermelon, but lives alone and can't eat it all. She suggests they split it, half and half. Hana thinks it's a great idea, and so they share a watermelon for the first time. On her way home, Hana feels a strange sense of unease, but can't quite put her finger on it. The incident is soon forgotten. A few days later, while grocery shopping, Hana sees a cut of meat she really wants, but hesitates for the same reason. Just then, the same woman appears again and asks if she wants to split it. She mentions how inconvenient it is to live alone and how sharing things prevents waste. They buy the meat and go to Hana's house to divide it. Both are happy with the arrangement and look forward to shopping together again. During their chat, Hana learns the woman is a translator of mystery novels and has a flexible work schedule. A few more days pass and they meet at a clothing store. They each try on an outfit and realize it looks great on both of them. A brilliant idea strikes. They'll go half and half again. Each buys one piece and they agree to share, swapping them back and forth. The woman seems to love this idea and suggests they do this with everything from now on. Hana is delighted, thinking it's a fantastic way for one person to enjoy twice as many things. The woman agrees, emphasizing that it means enjoying twice the happiness. After shopping, Hana spots a beautiful talking parrot. She is about to buy it when she realizes the woman loves it too. The seller says it's the last one of that color. The woman jokes that they should split it in half. Hana is shocked, but the woman clarifies it was a joke and suggests they take turns caring for it, 3 days each. Hana feels something is off. They had just agreed to share everything, so co-owning a parrot should be fine. She agrees and names the parrot Bibi. But 3 days later, when the woman comes to pick up the parrot, she is annoyed. She complains that since it's their shared pet, Hana shouldn't have named it without consulting her. Fortunately, she doesn't hate the name, so Bibi it is. Just then, the parrot squawks some of Hana's secrets. Hearing Bibi repeat something she had said earlier, Hana blushes with embarrassment. The woman doesn't seem to mind and takes Bibi with her, promising to return it in 3 days. With Bibi gone, Hana feels a little lonely. But remembering her husband is coming home that night, she gets busy preparing a huge meal. That evening, she waits and waits, only to get a call from her husband saying he has to work late and won't be coming home. Frustrated, she curses under her breath. Looking at all the food, she decides to call the woman and invite her over to share it. But the woman says she has a guest coming. In the background, Hana hears a man's voice say he's arrived. Though the call ends, the voice lingers in Hana's mind. A few days later, Hana tries to subtly ask the woman if she has a boyfriend. The woman replies bluntly that she doesn't. Before Hana can feel relieved, the woman continues, saying that since she already knows, there's no point in hiding it. She explains that he was the one who told her to seek Hana out while he was away. Hana is furious and tries to throw her out, but the woman remains calm. She tells Hana not to be angry, reminding her they are friends who agreed to share everything, so there's no reason to be upset. Hearing such shameless words, Hana becomes even more agitated. Seeing Hana pick up a fruit knife, the woman quickly leaves. That afternoon, a large box is delivered to Hana's apartment. As she wonders what's inside, she gets a call from the woman. The woman says that after thinking it over, she decided it's best if they share him, half and half. She says it's better for everyone this way. Hana doesn't understand and asks what she means. The woman doesn't answer, telling Hana to see for herself. The camera pans to the box, revealing a blood stain on one corner. When Hana opens the box, she sees a horrifying sight. And that's where the story ends, on a chillingly open-ended note, leaving the audience to imagine what Hana saw. The 14th story begins with Mariko being sick with a strange and peculiar illness. She cannot be praised. To cope, she deliberately makes herself look unattractive and rejects compliments. But one day, a man on a blind date sees past her facade and tells her she is truly beautiful. Just for saying a few words of praise, the man's watch disappears. In fact, Mariko has boxes full of such items. This is her habit. To avoid triggering it, Mariko only dares to dress up when she is alone at home, vowing to live a quiet and unremarkable life. However, the man is persistent and genuinely likes her. Thanks to his perseverance, Mariko decides to tell him her big secret. She confesses that she is a kleptomaniac. Whenever she is praised or feels happy, she unconsciously steals things. In the past, every man who learned about her condition left her. But he is different. He tells her he loves her for who she is and is willing to help her overcome this bad habit so she can be her true, beautiful self. He then asks her to marry him. Mariko is deeply moved and immediately accepts his proposal. Lost in their joy, neither of them notices that the man's belt and watch have once again ended up in Mariko's hands. Soon after, they get married. They are a loving couple. One day, when the man comes home from work, Mariko runs up to him and tells him the vegetable seller complimented her. The man then discovers their closet is full of vegetables. To keep his pre-marriage promise, the man starts following Mariko everywhere. Whenever she has an episode, he is there to immediately return the stolen items. One night, two club bouncers compliment Mariko on her looks and suggest she could make a fortune working at their club. Unsurprisingly, their entire dinner setup ends up in Mariko's possession. And it gets weirder. A man in sunglasses praises her, and when he steps out of the elevator, only his sunglasses are left behind. The man himself is gone. As time goes on, Mariko's condition doesn't improve. It gets worse. Looking at a table full of seafood, the man feels helpless. Worn out by recent events, he snaps at Mariko for the first time, complaining that he's exhausted from work during the day and has to spend his nights returning things for her. He immediately regrets his words because he still loves her and knows it's not her fault. To apologize, he takes her to the zoo the next day. There, he confesses his love for her again, telling her she has stolen his heart, something he can't get back, so they might as well stay together forever. Mariko is touched, and they share a happy kiss. In the moment, the man can't help himself and compliments her, saying he could never leave such a beautiful wife. Suddenly, he realizes what he's done. They frantically check themselves for anything unusual and find nothing. This makes the man think that Mariko's habit might be cured. Overjoyed, he starts praising her without restraint. Completely lost in their happiness, they fail to notice that the animals in the zoo seem to be gradually disappearing. It's only when they finally look around that they realize a massive elephant has been following them for quite some time. The man puts two and two together and asks if this is the result of his latest compliment. The 15th story begins with Takaki, Molly, and Saki being best friends who share a common interest, their classmate, Asuka. The muscular Molly often fantasizes that if Asuka were his girlfriend, he would die happy. Takaki teases him, pointing out that he wouldn't be able to date her if he were dead. Just then, Saki comes up with a plan. He asks Takaki if he'd be willing to fake his own death so they can test Asuka's feelings for him. Takaki's family owns a factory, but business has been bad lately, forcing them to halt production and accumulate a lot of debt. His parents happen to be out trying to borrow money that day, leaving the boys free to carry out their scheme at Takaki's house. The original plan was for Molly to invite Asuka over alone, but being all brawn and no brains, he accidentally invites the entire class, including their teacher. Seeing the teacher arrive, Saki knows they are dead meat. The plan has to proceed. They watch as their teacher reacts with deep sorrow, which nearly scares them out of their wits. Fortunately, the teacher composes himself and sits down. Next is Asuka. She approaches the coffin, crying to pay her respect. Takaki, lying inside, overhears her say that she actually liked him and that the chocolate in his locker was from her. She had been hoping to date him, but now he's suddenly gone. Hearing this, Takaki's friends are thrilled, feeling the fake death was completely worth it. But now they have a new problem: how to bring Takaki back to life. Just then, his parents return, looking dejected from their failed attempt to borrow money and discussing whether they should pack up and run. When they see the funeral wreaths outside their door and a heartbroken Asuka leaving, they fear the worst. Inside, their fears are confirmed. Their precious son is dead. Takaki's mother breaks down in hysterical laughter. They quickly notify all their relatives and friends. Seeing the house fill with mourners, Saki panics and tells Takaki he should get up now. But Takaki is afraid of his parents' wrath and decides to stay dead a little longer, at least until the guests leave. Molly, unconcerned, grabs some beers. Saki, tempted, has some too. Takaki, seeing them drink, asks for a cola. The three friends temporarily forget their troubles and drink merrily. They drink too much. The next morning, Saki and Molly wake up groggily to find the coffin and everyone else gone. Molly realizes they must have gone to the crematorium. At that moment, a hearse is on the road with Takaki's coffin inside. Having drunk too much the night before, he is just waking up. He feels the coffin moving and has a terrible thought. He's on his way to be cremated. He starts struggling and shouting, trying to get someone's attention. But the hearse has to brake suddenly to avoid a child, and Takaki hits his head inside the coffin, knocking himself out. In a daze, he seems to hear someone chanting the pre-cremation rites. Confused, he tries to ask where he is, but no one answers. The door to the incinerator opens, and he is pushed inside. He tries to scream, but fear makes him stutter out the word help. His voice is faint, muffled by the coffin and drowned out by the creaking of the furnace door. No one outside hears a thing. And so, Takaki's fake death becomes real. By the time Saki and Molly finally arrive, Takaki's ashes are already cold. His mother remarks that it must have been his fate. But his father adds that because of Takaki's death, their factory can reopen since they had taken out a life insurance policy on him. It's clear that at least one of the parents knew the truth but chose to conceal it for the large insurance payout. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.